All right, thanks, guys. Not only for making it out today, but just covering us throughout the offseason program. And I know we're very excited about the way the offseason went. We're excited about how this team's coming together, and hopefully our fan base is feeling the same way. A lot of work to be done come training camp, and I think I know we announced the dates for training camp. It's always my favorite time of year, getting our fans out here around our practice settings, connecting with our players post-practice, the autographs, everything that goes into it. So very much looking forward to my third training camp here. We'll have joint practice against the Cleveland Browns when we travel to Cleveland, leading into that second preseason game. I'm very fortunate to be working with Kevin Stefanski putting that together. Coach I respect immensely and have formed a really good relationship with, to be able to build the right kind of days for our teams. Just wanted to update you because I think it's been a few days since I've been able to kind of give you guys an update. Nick Muse did just have a small kind of cleanup on his knee, something that was kind of lingering and kind of developed to a point where we wanted to make sure he was able to have the best possible training camp he can. By getting that cleaned up when we did, he'll be a full participant to start training camp at the tight end position. So good 3 days of work with some of our younger guys, the veterans, based upon our participation and attendance throughout the spring. Really wanted to have that mini camp last week and challenge those guys, got after those guys from a standpoint of the ones versus one setting, with a little bit more knowing we would have this week to really focus on the continued growth and development of a lot of guys we're going to be counting on this year. So it was a really good week of work, and now these guys know exactly where they're at from a standpoint of reporting to training camp and helping be a major part of what we're going to be as a football team. Turn it over to your questions. Yeah, definitely footwork. We talk a lot about things like base, balance, body position when you're making certain throws, how you read. You're really reading, obviously with your eyes, seeing coverage and everything, but you're really reading with your feet, understanding that this time of year it's hard to replicate an NFL time clock, NFL pocket. So we try to really challenge the guys to read with their feet and the timing of plays and tying their feet and eyes together. A bunch of nerdy football talk to say how comfortable can you be playing in a really efficient way, still be accurate, still be showing all the arm talent traits that JJ's shown over his career, and he's been able to really get comfortable with certain aspects of the footwork we have the guys take, and just the continued comfort and growth that happens every snap for a player like JJ when he can walk into a huddle, call the play correctly, make sure 10 other guys are lined up correctly, and then execute his job first and foremost to allow the other 10 guys to have a chance to have success. And I thought his growth from day one to today was really evident. There's always going to be throws and decisions and different things that we can coach off of, and that's going to be part of his development process through a competitive camp, and want to get him exposed to playing with different guys and different groups, and we're going to have a really good plan to do that.
Small adjustments, or are you kind of having to go back through and have learn different ways to do it?
Yeah, no, it's small adjustments, Ben, to just the different sequences of a drop, from the acceptance of the snap, the takeaway, crossover steps, position steps to set your feet towards the target. Really 53 and a third, we like to have different concepts to attack the full width and as much depth as we can of the field. So there's a ton of different variations, and then you've got the nuances of the pocket movement off of that, where you're trying to maintain a lot of those principles while also understanding that there's some human beings trying to put you on the ground on the other side. So there's a lot of working parts, and then on top of that, sometimes it's just decision making where, I like to challenge the guys to, as long as they're reading the progressions the right way, playing with good timing, if they want to try to fit a football into a window or test their ability to stretch outside the numbers and get it there before a DB can undercut it and things like that. That's the only way they're going to really learn, is to, the trial and error aspect of playing the position. And that's what makes this time of year so special for us, because we can, there's some that you're you're coaching really hard off the result, but most of the time it's about the little things throughout that end up being big things in the big scheme of things, as they continue to stack progressions of learning our offense. And that's all the quarterbacks. That's Sam, still Nick, even with his mastery of kind of after 3 years of really learning it and some of the new nuances of things we're trying to do to help certain guys, win versus coverages that we tend to see. It's really, really good stuff across the board.
You got to know JJ throughout the pre-draft process. What have you learned about his ability to take coaching?
Yeah, he's the same guy every day. He comes in, he works really hard. He's doing all the extra little things that you love to see. But no matter how it goes, whether it's a really positive day or there's a few plays that he wants back, he's going to authentically be himself every day. He's never going to get too high, never going to get too low, which are, cliches in the quarterback world, but they are for a reason what they are, because if your quarterback is kind of riding that roller coaster emotionally day in and day out, there's a good chance your team, or especially your offense, is probably doing the same thing. And he's already, and I think that comes from, his college career and even probably before that of, being a part of successful teams and, even still feeling some adversity at times within games, turning the football over here and there and having to still overcome that. Are all things that he's done before, and he'll continue to do them on a day in and day out basis. And then eventually this is not going to be something where you can have ultra control to the point where, like when JJ's out there playing for us, that we're expecting some finished product. That's part of the phase of the development is getting exposed to, in-game adversity, getting in a rhythm and feeling like you can't miss. And then there's other days where it feels like the defense has 13 guys on the field, and you got to be able to withstand both and overcome both and continue to just have a next snap kind of mentality where you're worrying about the details of your job collectively with the other guys in the huddle. Yeah, I just think, it's going to be competitive for our whole team. I have some real detailed thoughts on how I want to prepare our team from a physicality standpoint, how I want us to really push it on, certain days, certain aspects of what we're doing from a competitive, good-on-good standpoint, and then really how we need to figure out, because of some aspects of our schemes are kind of unique. Are we really going to see certain things that either our defense does or offensively what we do? How do we practice in a way that prepares, our starting groups to be able to go activate in a way, all while making sure we're allowing competitions to naturally play out. I think you'll see different guys with different groups. I wouldn't, it's always fun to sit back and hear how, ones and twos and threes are evaluated, but the fact of the matter is sometimes it's ones versus twos, sometimes it's a developmental period, sometimes it's ones versus ones with some skin in the game as far as, conditioning after, and those things tend to get ramped up pretty good, but it's never, it's never one way of doing it day in and day out, and that's part of keeping things fresh for the guys. Sometimes it's sudden change where they don't even know what's coming, and there's a sequence or a situation of the game that I'm going to simulate for them in the moment without coaches being prepared to go through the script with their guys, or players knowing to save myself for this portion of the practice. So there's a lot of different tricks of the trade, nuances that I like to kind of continue to develop myself that either I've learned in the past or have had ideas about in the past. But through those first 2 weeks of camp, I think it's going to be about really identifying and setting the stage for how we want some of these competitions to fairly play out, and then using the games and the joint practice and some of the good-on-good work to really figure out what those are going to look like.
So would you call Sam your number one quarterback going into camp?
Yeah, we haven't had we haven't had to put out a depth chart or anything like that, but yeah, I would say Sam. Sam would be the guy I would look to based upon the spring he's had and really where he's at in his career and his quarterback journey and what he's been able to do coming in and really hit the ground running and really kind of take advantage of a competitive situation. But at the same time, JJ's really improved. Nick Mullins has had a great spring, and Jaron has also improved. So I've told all four of those guys, look, depth charts are great, and it's great to understand where I'm at currently today, but that'll mean really nothing, about, the future. That'll be nothing about a week or two out. And most importantly, we played 4 of them last year, including one guy who was not in our building throughout the offseason or training camp, and relied on him to come in and win a game and then try to, play it out from there. So I have total understanding of we only control so much in this whole thing, and that's what I've challenged the quarterbacks to do, is control what you can, which is your preparation. How detailed can you be, and can you stack good periods of practice together, good days together, and before you know it, you're looking up and it's not about the camp you've had, it's about your readiness to help the Minnesota Vikings win, is hopefully what all of our players are going to be coming reporting back here with the mindset on.
Coach, what has it been like to have Shaq here? And just what has the transition been like for him into a new defense?
Yeah, I think it's been great. I know I've felt just observing our 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 work. You feel his size, you feel his ability to cover in man coverage, which is a huge reason why we wanted to go get him. You feel his competitiveness. When Jets got back for minicamp, you could feel those guys kind of, picking up like they've been teammates for a long time just by trying to push each other to get better. So I've been really, really happy with Shaq, and really that goes for, I've said this a couple times, but I feel really good about all of the additions, really, from a standpoint of free agency, our draft picks. We really identified a lot of guys, that we felt would be scheme fits on this year's version of our team, what that's going to look like, and then ultimately, do they love football? Does it mean something to them to be great teammates and be a part of building something special? And then, are they smart, tough, and all the things that we look for always in our players to make the best possible team we can? But Shaq's been great.
Last couple questions.
What was so key in trying to learn fast in this time when there was so many new additions through free agency? Make sure you got what you might have as you prepare for training.
Yeah, I think, instead of, learning fast, I would just put it as how efficient can we be with our teaching as coaches. The time we do get, we are limited, which from an off-season standpoint, which I'm, total agreement with the rules that are set up. But you are limited a little bit, and so what we had to do is really have a daily plan of what are we trying to get done, what do we need to install from a scheme standpoint. Instead of just checking boxes, be really surgical with why we're doing the things, and then to pair that with coaching it at a really high level, getting to the point where we can start demanding and requiring guys to execute the schemes we do install at a certain level, and then being able to understand we're going to go back and coach a lot of this, add more on at a much, much quicker pace when training camp comes around. So you almost have to over-communicate that to the players so that the expectation is they're not coming back here thinking, okay, we're only going to be installing these many plays. Well, that's just not how it works. There's an hourglass going for 32 teams the moment that we all come back to training camp, and how we use that time, how we prepare the team, I've learned is a huge part of the early season.
Kevin, with you attending Jamal Mitchell's memorial service,
Yeah.
I guess, why was that so important to you to be there, and kind of a relationship, I guess, that you have with him?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to his family and the Minneapolis Police Department, and just such an unbelievable tragedy. But for me to be there to support him, there was really a couple reasons. I wanted to be there, to support the law enforcement community in a really tough time. The more and more I'd learned about Jamal and really what he was all about, and even his intentions on, joining the Minneapolis Police Department, it was something that hit a chord for me. Coming from law enforcement in my family. But then even more so, he did work our games. He was a part of our game day, outfit that worked our games. He was right outside the Delta Club where I come out to the field, and was there for the better part of my 2 years. So I felt somewhat of a connection, whether it was a high five or a fist bump here and there, walking in and out, and just to put the face with the name and know that we lost a special human being, and a father and a guy that really lived his whole life. It seems like the more you learn about him, for others, and it was just important for no other reason, just to be able to pay my respects and be really in awe of the law enforcement community coming together in a really tough time, which was something I'd never had a chance to see before in person, and it really was something that I took away from it. But incredible tragedy that you hope it's not something that continues to happen as much as it has.
Last one.
Just with the wide receiver depth, I guess how did you view that competition through OTAs and minicamp beyond obviously the starters that you know?
Yeah, I think with Jets being away there for the early part of OTAs as it was, Jordan Addison had as good of a off-season program as really you can ask for. A guy that had a ton of success in year one. And really from a standpoint of getting a little stronger, getting a little bit more comfortable playing through contact and still playing with that great burst and transition that he has. You saw some real growth there. And then I think, that third receiver spot is going to be very competitive, and there's a bunch of guys that had really good springs. I mean, Jalen Naylor had another really good off-season program. Unfortunately, did get had to miss a couple days of minicamp with the flu there last week. And Jalen has always been a guy that when he's healthy and on the field, he shows up every single opportunity he's gotten. That's our challenge to him. Is sometimes things are out of your control, and we understand that. But for him to take that next step, we're going to need to see him out there a lot as part of that group. Brandon Powell had a great spring, just like he's had since he's arrived. So versatile, can do so many different jobs. And then there's a lot of young guys that we've been really coaching up, either on our practice squad a year ago, or maybe bringing in a guy like Trent Sherfield, or some of even the undrafted free agents we brought in. All those guys are here for a reason, to be a part of a competitive situation. It's not just the 53-man roster. We've seen the value of a guy like Tristan Jackson, where he can be called up and know all three spots, play special teams. Lucky Jackson, Thayer Thomas. There's a lot of guys that are going to be competing to try to earn a spot on this team, all while following the leadership of Justin in that room. And I know he's looking forward to leading that group.